The game is over. Clemson continues to pour it on, holds Wake Forest to 14 points. Overall, they win 49-14. I'm going to talk about that and dive into it a little more. Welcome to the channel. I'm Brian. I'm glad you're here. If you're new, I hope you'll subscribe. It is free, which that's what I'm talking about. Anyway, Wake Forest played Clemson pretty well in the first half. At one time, Wake Forest was up 7-0. And at halftime, it was 28-14. We saw Clemson begin to pour it on. And we saw Clemson just begin to treat Wake Forest as Wake Forest. I mean, that's really what they did. They stopped playing around. They stopped giving Wake Forest a chance to make it a game. And they continue to pour it on. And Clemson wins 49-14. Clemson's now 5-1. Overall, 4-0 in the conference. And so I'm going to go over some quick stats here. Kudos to Clemson for getting the tight ends involved. Jake Brenning still finished as the leading receiver in the game. 7 receptions, 104 yards, and 1 touchdown. I'm very, very happy about that. Let's talk about stats real quick. I'll run that down. Clemson had 566 total yards with 343 in the air and 223 on the ground. They had the ball for 36 minutes, 29 seconds. They had 37 first downs and absolutely no turnovers. That's very good for them. Wake Forest, they had 233 yards of total yards, 146 of it in the air, 87 on the ground. They had the ball 23 minutes and 31 seconds, 16 first downs, but they had 2 turnovers in the first half. Cade Klubnik finished the game 31 of 41, 309, and 3 touchdowns. Hank Bachmeier, he ended up getting replaced, but he was 12 of 21, 126 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. Phil Maffa, 20 carries, 118 yards, 2 touchdowns. Damon Claiborne, at first he came out like he was going to run tough against Clemson, and that's what Clemson does. Unless you are a top back in the country, you may get yours in the beginning, but most of the time, you're not going to get anything. And that's exactly what happened. He came out kind of strong at the beginning. I heard people going, hey, I told you about Claiborne. Claiborne finishes 18 carries, 53 yards. So what do I take away from this game? In-game adjustments. That's one thing that I take away from this game is that there were in-game adjustments. You had Clemson go in at the half. They were on fire. They had scored 28 straight points before halftime in the second quarter. But there was still something there that said, hey, they have to continue to pour it on. And the defense can't allow another point. That 14 points came against our first-string defense, like it or not, that's not okay. And I predicted earlier this week that I felt like that Wake Forest would get, 10 to 13 points and that it would probably happen after Clemson had drugged them around. And actually went totally the opposite. They scored earlier on, but Clemson just shut them down and ended up pouring it on, 49-14. I will take that to a point. But what I'm really happy about is that Clemson made the adjustments defensively, and they held them to 14 points. They didn't score another point in the second half, and the offense continue to keep their foot on the pedal. So when someone is driving by the scoreboard, as I like to put it, they're just driving by, they're really not paying attention. They say Clemson beats Wake Forest 49-14. They go, oh, that sounds about right. Versus if Clemson beat good grief, I just shot out of my mouth, beat Wake Forest, say 35-21, you go, oh, that wasn't that good. I mean, they won and stuff, but it's not commanding. Clemson made the adjustments, and that's what they need to do. I'm very happy about that. For another week in a row, Clemson goes over 500 yards of total yards, 500 total yards, and we see them taking care of the football, which is a good thing. I know there was a botched snap early in the game, but they took care of the football. And that's one of the marks of a team that is hopefully improving, taking care of the football. So kudos to the Tigers. winning 49-14. Remember last year, it was such a yawner. It was so boring. And that was really a game that made everybody sit there and go, what just happened? Why did we just see what we saw? And thank goodness Clemson came out and they ran them into the ground. They ran them into the ground, and that makes me very happy. Also, I want to talk about this. I really like the creativity of calling the backward pass to Antonio Williams, and Antonio Williams throws the ball to Brenningstool. Having fun is one of the key things you want to do with your offense to make everybody go, hey, man, we're going to run that play? Oh, finally, yeah, we're going to run it. That is good. That's a good thing. That keeps excitement. That keeps bringing adrenaline into the scenario. Now, they need to do that against really good football teams and not only be tricky against the Wake Forest of the world. That's my asterisk. But it's good to see that Clemson did that. Clemson holds a third consecutive opponent to 14 points or less. So Stanford, they held them to 14 points. Florida State, they held them to 13. And this week, they hold Wake Forest to 14. And that has us looking forward to next week against Virginia in Death Valley. The first time Virginia's come to Clemson in forever. 12 o'clock next week on the ACC network. So the Tigers win. They're 5-1. Right after that Virginia game, they'll have a bye week. Then they play Louisville. So we are at the mid-season mark for the Tigers. Officially, half the season is over for Clemson, and I will do a video this week just talking about having 6 games over with. You're 5-1. You've won the games you were supposed to win, a lot of them commandingly. The offense is rolling. There's some questions on defense, but in the second half we saw them adjust. And that's all you can really ask for at this point. I'm going to get to the comments section real quick. Oh, goodness. Amazing offense in the second half and defense. Proud of the Tigers. Go Tigers, Bo Weevil. Clemson would beat Alabama, I think. Yeah. The hard take. That last running back was killing it. Yeah, Keith Adams Jr., I was shocked that they were playing Haynes in front of him because that's what Keith Adams Jr. does. Keith Adams Jr. reminds me a lot of Maffa. I'm not saying he is Maffa. He reminds me a lot of Maffa. And so I was shocked with Haynes coming in because every time Haynes comes in, now he's one of those guys that he's fast, and if he gets a seam, yeah, you've got to run him down. But most of the time, you're not going to have that seam. You're going to have someone you need someone who can bust through there, and you're right, the hard take. Gamecocks play calling at the end killed them, but really says something about Bama. Nick Harbor caught that touchdown pass. It's all 6'5", Olympic speed. Gamecock or not, I've been questioning why they haven't been using that guy more. And I saw that. That was unbelievable. Haynes needed a few more touches and maybe more touches, but heck, can't complain. That's right. Where's Bobby? Bobby is somewhere. Who knows? Where is Tyler Brown? I want to say that he has been tweaked a little bit. Jarvis Screen is amazing. Maffa running like Earl Campbell. Chris, great win, brother. Antonio Williams, 4th-string quarterback. Yeah, that's correct. I didn't like the first quarter, but 48-14, I'll take it. Peter Woods, it was great to see him out there after that ridiculous play against, of all people, Appalachian State. Costing Peter Woods this much time. It's great to see him come out there and kill some people. Tiger Raven, Alabama survived the school in Columbia. You are right. Adams Jr. is a cannonball, needs some work on his footwork. Hey, you know what? You can work on his footwork, but that fire like you were talking about right there, he is a cannonball, and I'd rather have a cannonball that I can work on their footwork than someone who has the footwork, but they don't have that aggression. I think you and I are on the same page there. All right, folks, if you haven't subscribed, it is free. So I hope you'll subscribe. The channel is growing. I have people reaching out to me going, dude, your channel has really been growing. I'm like, hey, people seem to like what I'm doing. Or they just love to hear me ramble. So I hope you'll subscribe. Also, if you have not joined yet, you can join the channel. There's a button below that says that says, I think, join or something. I don't know what YouTube's changed it to, but it's $3 or $5 per month. But I hope you'll at least subscribe, hit the thumbs up, drop me a line, let you know that on Monday at 12 o'clock Eastern time, unless something happens, I'm going to have John Kurtz. This guy has been on ESPN. He's been on other networks. He's coming on my show, and we're going to talk college football. We probably won't talk Clemson that much because he's more of a Big 12 guy, but I want to have him on the show, and it's always great to have people like John come on my show and just talk college football. So set your sundial for 12 o'clock on Monday at Eastern Standard. Folks, you take care of yourself. Hopefully, tomorrow I'll be able to talk about the AP Top 25 when it comes out. Remember, we have some big games that's going on today that will really shape the landscape and shake up the picture in college football. So y'all take care of yourself, and as always, go Tigers.